Okay. All right, it is 7 o'clock, so we'll call the April regular village council meeting to order. Let the roll call show that all village trustees are in attendance, along with our treasurer, clerk, and village manager. Our second agenda item is a approval of the council meeting minutes for March 14th, regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hugh, supported by Jane. Discussion?
Yeah, I just want to correct the record at the end of the first public comments. I did not receive a call from Michelle.
Oh, several did, maybe I just
Yeah.
thought I heard. Okay, thank you. I'll
Also,
correct that.
in that section, and again, I made notes on this, but I can't get them, there's a reference to Northport being the biggest drinking town in Leland County, and that should be Leland.
Take care of.
She
corrected it.
Oh, okay, sorry. And then Ann Harper's name needs an E at the end of it.
She corrected it.
Good.
Yeah. I had there were a few grammar
Mhm.
things.
Anything else? Okay, so all in favor with the suggested amendments, say aye. Opposed? All right, those are approved. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll
As
second.
presented.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Barb, supported by Laura to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Passes, brings us to our first public comment. 5 minutes for public comment. If you want to raise your hand, I will recognize you. And just any questions you may have, we will try to answer during our discussion on the topics on the agenda, or hopefully we will be able to address them in our council comment. With that, any public comment? Or one on mute, anyone unmuting?
Hi, Chris, Tom Weber.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Hi, couple things, trying to understand on the agenda what the item is specifically having to do with South Shore Drive and Homewood Drive. In terms of that mentioned something about a problem. And so hopefully you're going to address that in a little bit more detail. Wondering exactly what the land surveyor contract is specifically about, and why that agreement is being entered into, and why in the new contract for the golf course there is a desire to put in or apply for a liquor license, as well as it talks about the solar panels as being refurbished, and I guess I'm not understanding what that means. Are they looking for a full replacement? What exactly is the scope of that, if that could be addressed as well? So several of those items, but to offer a lot more clarity than just what those documents and topics are about.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom.
Fred's trying to get in. Oh, sorry.
Any other takers for public comment?
Please.
This is Fred. Pam wants
Yeah.
to say something.
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, I saw on the agenda that a discussion item was a public bathrooms up in the business district. And my comment on that is that Sutton's Bay and Leland both have public bathrooms at their marinas. which we have also.
We have two.
So therefore, why would we need to put another facility for people shopping there when they can just go down by the park? They're at the marina and Hazard Park. And the taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for that in the business district. When we would be the only town in this area to have them. Sutton's Bay and Leland seem to do well with their bathrooms at the marinas, and they're public ones. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, if there's no takers, correspondence?
I had one handwritten letter from Don Monty, just praising the village council for moving forward on affordable housing and the housing project.
All right. And that brings us to our staff reports. First up is the clerk.
So you have our the cash transaction financial report, in addition to the breakdown on the bill sheet. I did supply a handwritten report, just letting the village council know that the waterways grant is completed and we received our final reimbursement. That we've been working on the budget for the finance committee, and that I'm in the process of completing the quarterly reports for first quarter. If there's any questions, I can answer. Happy to.
Anything for the clerk? Okay, thanks, Joni. Treasurer?
Just want to let everybody know I'm signed up for some training for the tax with BSNA. One would be introduced creating the tax roll and then making it through that. So it's 2 courses that I'll take in May. So just some time to taxes rolling out. And then also working on the one compiled list of CIP projects. So getting with all the committees, making sure, and I put the additions on that we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
So we'll get through that and get those prioritized.
Yeah. All right, thanks. And next up, we have Chris, DPW. So report in the packet there as well. Is he, Chris Holton?
Yes. Yeah. Hey, hi, guys. Sorry about that. Any questions on my report? Glad to answer. I will add that I found out today from engineer from Prine and Newhoff concerning the Rose Street culvert that the state has now opened up the permitting process. Instead of a 2-year, what do I want to say, 2-year period, it's now a 5-year. So I think we'll talk about this at infrastructure, that we should apply for that, get it in the hopper with the state. And again, that's good for 5 years. And so then we start that whole process and, going for funding. But, and also I'd just like to say, if you could swing the camera just a little bit, once again, Jim Dyer's out of the picture. If we could swing that. Yep. So my left, you're right. So perfect. Stop. Whoa, there you go.
Is Will Harper's?
I don't care. Yeah, I can see his hand. I just saw his hand. He's still good.
Okay, no, Will's still there, and then I can just now see Jim. So, okay, there you go. Any questions? I'd be glad to answer.
I have a question. Chris, was DPW doing anything down at the 7th Street Road in recently? Seemed like
We
a
just
lot of stumps are there.
A lot of what?
Stumps. Tree stumps.
At 7th Street?
Yeah. Not 7th Street, I'm sorry.
5th
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
Yes, we had trees removed earlier in this winter, and we were able to get the stumps cut down and some of them removed and fix the beach up.
Okay, thanks.
So, Chris, I have a question about the, consumers' energy streetlights. Will they be able to help us with the, controls that are supposed to allow us to dim? Or is this a completely different crew?
Unfortunately, it's a different crew. This is just the maintenance and line crew. What I understand is they're this this phase is just going to be removing or replacing the cable crossing lights that are like mid block and so on. I don't know if they were supposed to be working on the one at Maine and Shabason, Chris, right by your place.
It's
I
done.
don't know. It's
It's
done.
done.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. I'm a little confused and concerned because most of those cable crossing lights are supposed to be removed and be put into Cobra heads off of poles. So I don't know what happened there. I wasn't in the loop of that. So to answer your question, Jane, I'm sorry. Yeah, this crew has been of no help to me and regarding controlling those light temperatures.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a white light than what was there before.
Yeah, the sodium. Yeah. So they're going to continue, I guess, on their schedule of, he made it sound like they were going to try to knock out a bunch. I have a list and I shared it with the one fellow that I've been in contact with. So it looks like they'll be working on it for the next few weeks.
I just have a comment. The new lights at the marina along the north wall shopper docks there look good.
Yes, yeah.
The little
thank
waist
you.
high, are those ballast, whatever they are.
Ballards.
Yeah, ballards. They look really good.
Well, good, thanks. I'm real proud of that. Those were ones that the school was gonna get rid of.
Yeah.
And Kent and Josh refinished them and did the bases, and I think it's a real nice asset. We got 2 more to go in. We're gonna add one more and then one closer to Hazard bathroom to illuminate that walkway. So kudos to Kent and Josh on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Great recycling and reusing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's what we thought. So
Okay, anything else for Chris? All right, thanks, Chris.
you bet.
Marina?
Bill is unable to attend the meeting this evening. He was called away on a family emergency, is heading up north. He has submitted a written report, and I'll try the best I can to answer if there are any questions regarding his report, but I think most everything is fairly self-explanatory.
The boat launch fee process looks
Yeah.
pretty solid.
Oh, yeah, he worked a lot on that, and it's going to, I think, help a great deal with compliance.
So if a truck and trailer are spotted without a red tag in the windshield or whatever, what happens?
Should ticket, they should do a civil infraction ticket.
Do we have a ticket book?
We do.
We do? Yeah.
We do.
Well, that's
And
great.
we've got somebody to issue them.
Yeah, so we don't need to call the cops or the sheriff or anything. Okay, that's great, terrific.
Now, how much compliance we'll get on that is another question. We'll see, but how that actually plays out.
Mhm.
But we have the appropriate bureau established. We've got the ticket books. We've got the ability to write the tickets. We're hoping we'll get a more enhanced compliance, and that the way he set it up is easier to comply with the QR codes and all of that sort of thing. So we'll see.
So we'll publish it in the ticker.
And he's not here, but was there, could you buy like a season pass
Yeah.
for the launch?
Yeah.
Okay, and so those people would be issued the red tag as well.
Something.
Yeah.
Something that would indicate that
Yeah,
they're
they'll
there.
have
Yeah. Because that would, I just was the consecutively numbered red tags, and so how would, that would make a difference if not. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's one of to get the season pass, you have to identify a specific boat, a specific trailer, a specific vehicle.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to verify against that list whether that, you know, even if they don't have the red tag,
Sure.
that they're appropriately there. And if by chance we were to issue a ticket that was not appropriate, that someone that did have a pass, we could void that locally. That's one of the advantages of the Civil Infraction Bureau. They're handled locally until such time as there's non-compliance with payment, then they go to the district court. Rather than they go immediately to the district court and it becomes,
Mhm.
you know, it's taken out of our hands at that point. So the Civil and Municipal Civil Infraction Bureau can be a really good tool for those sort of things. We'll see how it works. I'm looking forward to writing my first ticket.
And is that this civil infraction bureau, would that also be used for? I don't know, people carrying non-correct cocktail vessels on the streets and.
It could be, yeah.
Or
We
is it
also have a trailer
The trailer
ordinance.
parking.
say
We also have
zone?
yeah, no unattached trailers overnight, and that's,
Yeah.
enforcement was a big question on that, so now I think we have that settled.
Yeah, I was gonna say, any ordinances that people, you know, we didn't have teeth to enforce them. I mean, now we do.
Yeah,
To a
you know
degree.
what?
And now we
Fishing in the
can,
marina,
yeah, get compliance out of people. you know.
so to heck with our sheriff. Our sheriff will write our own tickets, because his deputies won't.
How hard was it to set up this civil infraction?
You guys set it up
We've
before
had
I
it.
even got
We
here.
did.
It's just been here, you just didn't.
Johnny's had a book.
We had, the books were here before I showed up, so I didn't even take credit for it.
No, thanks for
Okay,
energizing it.
all right, so we've gotten off, anything else for Marina? Oh, well, so we'll just slide into the manager ZA report.
I've got a 2.5-page report, and I'm gonna read every paragraph of it. I promise I would not.
Go in the bathroom when you do it.
Yeah. Just hit the highlights. The first item is, very unfortunately, we received notification actually today officially that our grant application to the financially distressed cities and villages and township program was not selected for funding. There's no indication in the letter that we have the ability to do a post-mortem discussion with the Treasury. But I'm gonna try to do that anyways, just to find out what it was about our request that was problematic.
Can we reapply next year?
Oh, yeah, it's a program that they do on an annual basis,
Okay.
and we can reapply. We may apply for something different, because as I considered the two things that I thought might be problematic is we really asked, even though that one of the questions mid-award was whether we would accept something less than our request, and we said yes, but the things that we really needed the most were fairly expensive. I think the minimum amount that we said would really be helpful to us was somewhere just north of 300,000, as I recall. And there was only $2 million of funding in this round. So they do publish, they're required to publish a report of all the programs that are funded, so we'll at least be able to see what that was. The second thing that I think might be problematic is, even though we're potentially the distressed village, they may have looked at this and said, well, are we really funding village programs, or are we funding the Tula program? That troubled me when we did the grant request, but I thought we addressed it very well in our report, that one of the reasons that we have some degree of financial distress is the fact that we're 89% or 81% of the actual amount of the sewer system. That creates that financial pressure. I did indicate on item number 5 that we were able to meet finally with the Haymeyers regarding their proposed development near the golf course. I think it was a very good meeting. I'm reasonably certain that something will come of that. I'm not sure exactly what that might be, whether they continue to proceed with the development. I did explain to them how the Natula was willing to deal with their connection fees and all of that. They were very receptive to that. That was quite, quite well received. They're also considering whether that they might partner with someone to get development there, but that is probably the closest, for a potential development to occur amongst all of the areas that we're looking at for housing. I did include all of the details regarding the 5 zoning permits that have been issued. And I've included as kind of a new way of dealing with the report on item number 8. Shows each of the agenda items that actually have potential discussion or action, and giving a little bit of a background and where there is proposed action to occur, a suggested or proposed motion that could be used to accomplish the ends of the. So other than that, if there are any questions on the report, I'm happy to answer them.
I'd just like to point out, because of the public comment, the first public comment we had tonight, that this document is available in the Dropbox to the public, and a lot of the questions that person had tonight would have been answered if they read this report.
We can also address some of those in detail during the debate.
Yeah, and that may happen, but I'm just pointing out to people that it's there, and the public comment is for comment, and you should, once again, you shouldn't expect to get questions answered during public comment. So these answers are in this report. So, and this is really cool. Good work. Yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
Any questions for Jim other than that? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our committee reports. Finance?
Yeah. The minutes from our March meeting were in the packet. The Finance Committee met yesterday and we don't have minutes, but we did spend time looking at the way the budget information is being captured, which is a little different from the budget worksheets that we've supplied in the past. It looks like it will be easier to understand and follow. And we're also taking a look at all of our debt retirement, all of our bond debt retirement on an ongoing basis in finance. So those are the 2 items that we covered yesterday.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, thanks, Jane. Infrastructure?
We did not meet last month. We had to cancel. Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have a report, but we will after our next meeting.
It's not on here. Parks and Trails did meet last month, and we just discussed the playground equipment. We got 2 new designs. And
It probably would merit indicating that in all likelihood that installation of the equipment that we're proposing to purchase maybe sometime in early fall, largely because the supplier and installer gets backed up and inundated with requests from school districts that are closed, and they want all their stuff done in June, July, so in all likelihood, it'll be August or sometime when we'll get our installation done, unless they get a window or a donut in their installation schedule that they can fit us in. So I've had a couple questions about that. When are we going to replace the stuff?
Yeah.
That was torn down and dilapidated.
one thing I thought of was maybe we could construct some type of thing where some pictures of the design could go down there. So like coming soon, and then people could see the equipment, what it's gonna look like. The renderings that the company did were really nice. So it would give people at least an idea of what we're getting.
Yeah.
And then and just so everyone knows, the rather than having the equipment delivered to the beach and having it sit all summer and people wonder what's going on, they can ship it to our installer, and then the installer will bring it up when they're ready.
We could also, that would also, I think, be a good subject for addition to the website. We can do that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Brings us to, planning commission.
The planning commission minutes did make it into the Dropbox, but kind of right under the wire. A couple of things that I'll highlight is that Jim presented a redevelopment ready community participation plan for comment and input from the planning commissioners in having a formal process on how we seek public input on things like master planning and capital improvement. We are continuing to work on preparing for the master plan. Notice of intent will go out to the surrounding governmental bodies that we're required to notify. We will have the planning commission year runs from April through March. And so we have May through April, we have two commission seats that will be open, and the posting looking for parties who are interested in serving as a planning commissioner will be published in the enterprise and posted around town. And the tree committee is holding the third annual Arbor Day recognition ceremony on April 26th. That's a Friday morning at 10. And a tree will be planted near the youth sailing school in Marina Park. The public is welcome to attend. We have 3 different classes from the school who are going to be coming down this year. So we're getting a lot of connections with the school. It's growing each year. Questions if you have any.
Jane, or maybe, I think it's a question for you. When does the council expect to vote on the 7th Street project?
We're awaiting a formal recommendation, and I think we had asked for that in May. Or is that the zoning, 7th Street in June, hopefully the zoning ordinance in May.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of, frankly, I can say a lot of what is going into that recommendation is there's a lot of moving pieces regarding housing like not building necessarily on that property, but using that to allow us to build on other locations. And there's a lot of moving pieces to that, and I hope that that makes sense. Yeah, I'm reasonably certain by June, we'll have at least a recommendation, if not an actual course of action. That's the most I can say about that at the moment.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Jane? Okay. NLTUA. We had like our shortest meeting ever. It's like 15 minutes, maybe.
Wow.
17.
Yeah. Just reports from Jacobs. We have our annual meeting next week. We'll re-elect officers. But just again, the work from Dawn Lund we're just going to follow that and see where it takes us.
Awesome.
Pay attention. So, all right, that brings us to any questions? Okay. That brings us to our first discussion item, Homewood subdivision, South Shore Drive location problem. As you saw, the manager did have a brief thing here in his reports. And as you could see from the survey there's a little jog in the road.
And you'll note that we're talking about the area. It's unfortunately I have to discuss it in terms of parcel numbers, but it's lot number 16, which is the north. It'd be the northwest corner of East Shore Drive in Homewood. that's where the jog in the road begins, and then the parcel south of Homewood Drive, the parcels on the west have an undefined area in front of their house between their lot line and what is now the road. And then the parcels to the east that are on the bay side actually have areas of the road that are encroaching on their property. Potentially, that they're actually now identified as separate parcels where the road goes down and occupies. And then south of that, it's taken care of. But it appears to me that I'm not sure what happened. Obviously, this didn't happen when I was here, so I don't know how the road was constructed or why that all occurred. But property owners south of home would have asked me about that. And I really just wanted to bring it to your attention to say that something may need to occur. And if anybody knows any of this history of how this occurred, I would like to hear from them, either members of the village council or frankly, members of the public that are impacted, particularly the homeowners that are impacted by this. So there's not necessarily, and I definitely did not make it an action item because there's no action that I could really recommend tonight. It's just something that I need to study and figure out if there is action that we need to take.
Yeah, reading some old meeting minutes on another subject. I want to say that road was constructed in the early 80s. 81, 82, 83 was probably the planning and construction when it was, because it used to be a gravel road. It was just dirt and it was moved to asphalt. And Chris is muted, but I don't know if he has any history of being around, because I think Cal did some of the work down there. Again, I could go back and look in the logs, but
There's a creek there. I mean, it's pretty obvious the reason they did the jog was because they had to cross the creek and that was the best way to do it. At the time, it was the easiest way instead of putting the road where the creek is. They crossed the creek and then they just jogged the road over, and back then nobody really cared. But I guess.
And I think it's possible that the properties to the east that may have had their property diminished were, that's been resolved. I don't know the history of those parcels, but the properties to the west have this gap between their property line and the road, and it's like, what do we do with that? Are we required to maintain it? Is it actually ours? Does it owned by the village? And if so, does the village have liability? If not, those are issues that everybody is concerned about.
Instead of moving the road, could we abandon those little rectangles?
That may be the ultimate solution, and all I'm suggesting to you is, again, tonight is, I need to do a whole lot more work on this, but because it was brought to my attention by some citizens, I didn't want them to think that this is just, swept under the rug, for lack of a better term. It's something that is being brought to your attention, and we'll deal with it, and once we figure out how to do that.
Chris, do you have something to say?
I was just gonna chime in, regarding, the road, was changed during the, sewer project. Things got shifted around a bit, grades were changed a bit. Also, being it was a railroad right away, which encompassed the 100 feet. So Jim, I guess, again, maybe we can go back through and talk a little history on that in detail. So I'll leave it at that.
Quick question, is this issue inhibiting somebody's project at the moment?
Not
Okay, so it's just, at this point, it's
the only thing that it might not inhibit a project, but if there was somebody if they wanted to sell their property, that might create a problem. So that might require quicker action on our part. So.
Does this problem area include Andy and Laura Thomas's property?
Close, but no.
No, okay, because Andy would know, but, all right.
You may still know though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been suggested as a resource for sure.
Yeah.
Former council member. All right, next discussion item is the 2023-24 trash pickup budget allocation. This came up in the finance committee meeting yesterday.
That was
I wanted to say
yesterday.
Wednesday, but I
Yeah,
wasn't sure what today.
Yeah,
And, and whether or not to go through with it, because we do have $20,000 budgeted for this budget year, which has rolled over now into right now.
We have until, it's in the budget through June. We increased, the cost increased from about 13,000 to 19,000 the last two trash pickups, and we budgeted 20, but are not reassured that that's going to cover.
If we do it the same as we've always
If-
done,
if
if we do it
yeah.
the same course that we've always done, I think everyone probably needs to expect that it would be more than that, just because I don't know how it wouldn't be. But I mean, one of the things we did talk about in finance is getting some options together to look at, to see if there's a compromise so that citizens who are expecting it to happen still can see that happen this season. But we can try to control the cost in a way that is fiscally responsible, so it's not just going to an unknown number.
Well,
I kind of remember the last time we did this, I think we talked about this, the last time being the last time and not doing it in the future. And it is in the budget, but that doesn't mean we need to spend the money. I've been pretty vocal about, how I feel about it in terms of it. I think it's a really disproportionate benefit to very few people, a handful, maybe a dozen people that really take advantage of it, less than 20 from what I remember last time. And a lot of property owners that are not even here when we do it, and you know, they're paying for it. And I would also like to point out that the downtown merchants get absolutely no benefit out of this whatsoever, and they pay an awful lot of village taxes. So I think 20,000 is a lot. That said, and I'm against doing it at all. I think if people bring home a bunch of stuff, they should figure out a way to get their own stuff out of their kitchen. For lack of a better term. That said, I did contact Builders Waste today and talked about, on a suggestion from somebody, that, you know, we maybe could do a central drop location, like possibly the 7th Street, or even 8th Street at the DPW. There's a little room there in front. It'd be better policed there, but we could use, we have 2 loaders and, you know, 10 15-yard dumpsters would be 15-yard dumpsters would be $6,000. And that is a fraction of the cost. They're big ones.
yeah, no, I know, we have a
And-
3-yard
and-
dumpster, so.
That would be a fraction of the cost. And the way I talked to the owner about it today is like, the way we could do it is do 2 dumpsters at a time, bring 2 up. We have a week window. People bring stuff as they fill. They do a route every day. So as they fill, they bring a new one and take the other one away. You know, we do 2 at a time with a maximum of 10, and we have a window of, say, 5 business days, then 5 more business days, or we could even make it shorter. But I'd also like to push it back. But that would be a compromise that I could see, you know, working for a lot of people. You know, it is an extra step to get it from your yard down the road, but you know, neighbors are, I'm willing to help with people if they've got stuff. And there's everybody in this town seems like either has a pickup truck or knows somebody with a pickup truck. So I think that is a compromise I would support, but I don't support spending the money just because we have budgeted. We've got some things we could use the money for. I don't know if, you know, what I've suggested is reallocating that to fund a nice seasonal bathroom in the parking lot in between NPG and New Bohemian, which has been asked for since Bruce Vijay owned the Garage Bar. When it was a drive-through barbecue, he was coming to these village council meetings asking for that. It's been asked for at least 10 years. We've never done anything. We priced it out. Jim priced it out. It's not out of this. It's not out in the company services it weekly. That's in the contract. I would like to see the money spent on that much more than, you know, 20 people who need to get rid of a couch and a mattress. So those are my thoughts on the matter. And we're not going to vote on this tonight. But I want the council members to think about it over before the next meeting and maybe talk to some people about it. There's a lively discussion on my Facebook page about it right now, both pro and con. So that's why I asked for it to be on the agenda tonight, just so people can think about it. 20,000, and it's probably gonna be 25, is just too much and it benefits too few people,
And why is it that expensive?
in my opinion. Because
Because that's how
GFL
much it is.
is the Gambino family.
GFL has been jumping their prices up.
As well as the fact that it's determined by how much trash there is, so how long it takes them and how much there is to pick up. And there are rules that we've asked people to follow in the past and they haven't really been followed, but they collect all the trash even if we've asked them not to, right? I mean, we say, don't pick up everyone's tires if they put 20 and then they pick them all up anyway.
Well, that's more money for them. I mean,
Correct,
the
that's
more
why they're
trucks they
doing
fill,
that.
the bigger the bill is for the village.
I
So
do
you have
think-
no incentive to self-police. Go ahead. Sorry.
I do think too, that one of the issues that was raised at finance by public, was how are we gonna police if we are doing a central location, which I think could be a really great compromise. In my experience, I just know a lot of local communities that had been doing it previously have switched to that central location concept, which is, I'm sure, because it's much cheaper, while still providing it to people who need it, is how do we distinguish from township residents and village residents? My experience in Blair Township is that you have to have your ID and a tax bill. But one of the things when I've discussed it, because I have talked to people about it as well, because it is a lively discussion on your Facebook page. Is it possible to partner with the township too? And it would be township residents and us, to help reduce cost. And I don't know if that's an option as well. And then some people have mentioned that potentially we could ask the school, since it happens in June anyway, as a location also, for dumpsters. I think that if it was gonna be a long period of time, that would make it more convenient for people, but in terms of how do you police who's putting trash in, I think that makes it so there has to be a person there that whole time, which then makes it maybe not as convenient for the functionality of running it. But
Yeah.
But I think that it's a good thing to throw out there, because I think that's the way to find a solution, is to find a compromise.
So Will, if we did it your way, could we, like, if we had 2 dumpsters down there, have a category, say, this week it's such and such only, and then,
I mean, I haven't really thought that through, but, these are things that we have a month to think about and make suggestions about. That would be cool. I've kind of switched away from 7th Street to 8th Street just because I think it's a higher visibility place and people are less likely to cheat there. Whereas 7th Street, they could do the dump and run. At 8th Street, there's usually somebody around, and everybody knows everybody around here. So I think you're gonna get have less problems at 8th Street. The school's not a bad idea, but there really isn't anybody there in June. I mean, I would say do it around the side of the school, but that's up to them.
Right.
I wouldn't want to mess up their asphalt. I mean, you're gonna have some, although these are on rubber wheels, but still, I don't think we should mess with their parking lot. It would have to
Yes,
be.
we did.
Yeah, let's not even ask them to do that. So, I don't know, this is just for everybody to think about. I don't want anybody to make up their minds right now. Keep your minds open.
Go ahead, Susan.
I think this is a really important service that we provided to our residents. Regardless of how many use it, I'm guessing that it's difficult for elderly, alone, isolated people to find friends to help them. They may not be on Facebook, and B, to lift things and to move things. So I am for maintaining this, but I do believe that we could deal with somebody other than GFL. Has GFL been approached about reducing and they're locked into the prices they're charging?
Generally speaking, that's the case. I mean, we could ask them to bid on it. One of the things that I would suggest you might want to do is just task staff with the idea of coming up with a recommendation to cover all the issues that you've talked about tonight. And, including, how much, where, how is it regulated? How will we partner with the township? I spoke with the supervisor today, and there's receptivity to that. So how will it be staffed, if at all those things we can certainly address.
In a month, do you think you can have something for us in a month? Because then we're running out of time to do it.
Well, yes and no, because the fact that it's budgeted in this year doesn't necessarily mean it has to occur before
No.
June 30th. But.
We don't wanna do it in the middle of July, it's kind of a bad look for the town, I think. I
Exactly.
mean, early June is really the right time.
Go ahead, Barb.
Yeah, we are talking about once a year, this $20,000, right?
No.
It's biannually.
It was
Every other year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to
Yeah,
be every
that's
year
close.
and it used to be Walt Kelchick. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, hey, I'll make a couple $1,000s picking up your
Yeah.
junk on Saturday. Now it's a multinational corporation that's like, you know, poundage an hour. So
Mhm.
it's just a different situation.
I do think we should push back against this price. Regarding, potentially helping people out, we do have share care. Who could
Mhm.
potentially help out as a, thing that they do. So, I mean, for a central like collection,
Yeah,
right?
it's a good
So,
idea.
and, others can volunteer too, but it's a lot of money for us to spend for people picking up people's trash, and when I see in our neighborhood, it's usually not that much anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying, it's very disproportionate, I mean, some people really use it and some people
Yeah.
don't, and I just, that's the way it is with all government services, like, not everybody has a kid in school, and not everybody uses the marina, but well, the marina makes money, bad example, but anyway, not everybody takes advantage of everything, but this one is really lopsided in my view, and it has seemed very, you see one or two households filling up almost an entire truck. I mean, it's just not, and then I've never put anything out and, I've lived here for 15 years. Or whatever 2008 was. So, yeah, I just don't, I just don't see it as a good use. The central thing, look, we won't know if it works unless we try it. And that's really, I'm all for trying new things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I voted for the social districts, like, or, we don't know if these things are gonna work unless we try, but keep doing the same thing over and over again and paying GFL $25,000 every 2 years. We're not gonna learn anything.
Called insanity. Same thing over and over again, right? Laura's got her hand up, sorry.
Yeah, so one of the things I did want to say that was said in finance that I just want to be sure people do know about it too, is I'm not in favor of doing GFL and just going over budget. Like, that's not something that I'm in favor of. But one of the things that Joni shared is that they said if we don't decide now, that our date won't be in June. Because like right now, they're already booking all of June. And so if we wait a month, that won't be a choice for timing unless we want it to be July or August, which I don't think we want either, but I just want to be sure people knew that the current status quo plan of what it's been in the past, if we don't decide it and they make plans for that to happen tonight, which I don't think we should do, but if we don't do that, then that option is gonna be
But again,
essentially off the table for the time frame we want it to be.
but again, that option is they circle the village and it's time and materials.
Well, and that's why too, I mean, there's the sleeping bear disposal, which isn't expanded to us, but that's why I had suggested that yesterday too, seeing what they would quote it, because they're a competitor that, wants to get into the area.
The residential rates are actually the same, if not higher than GFL, so I wouldn't count on.
I don't count on it, I just,
Yeah.
if we don't ask, we don't know.
I can see maybe 10% less at the most.
I
but it's-
think you're much more likely to save money and do it in an economical way by the central process and just, I wouldn't recommend, and it's not good budgeting to say, we're just gonna pay a time and materials thing, or particularly when people can say, I demolished a house. Or my basement, and I'm just gonna save all the building waste and throw it out in the trash when the trash pickup comes up. That's not.
What would prevent them from doing that as a central place?
Well, they'd have to
They
shut
have
it.
to
It's not,
truck it. They have to
the
truck
issue
it.
was they could still do it, they'd have to truck it over there and we would, once we filled up 10 dumpsters, that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's it.
additionally, like when Blair Township, I've personally participated in theirs. And you have to not only prove that you're a resident, but it's the same thing, like theirs is a limit of 4 tires too. And if you have more than 4 tires, they will take 4 tires and they will say, I guess take the rest home in your trailer, like we told you 4 tires. So if it's not being manned, then you wouldn't be able to do that. But if it's happening over the course of 2 days or whatever, the people who are there could be controlling it and
Yeah, who's gonna stop them from going in at night when nobody's around?
Well, I mean,
That was my
in
question.
Blair, they don't stay there, right? They
Yeah.
haul it right away and it happens that they don't sit there, cause they fill them up, I mean, and the lines are astronomical.
There's nothing really stopping anybody from dumping stuff at Seventh
Oh, I
Street
know.
right now.
I know.
And
There-
so, let's not give anybody any
Yeah.
ideas. But yeah, no, if you're gonna staff it, you would have to be a very short window, like one weekend.
Right, which is what, I mean, Town has done that now, they did that last year, and they had people manning it the whole time, and then, just like the hazardous waste disposal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they man that whole time.
And you have to make an appointment.
They,
So you,
hazardous waste, yes, but this.
Yeah.
but the regular trash drop off, I don't believe there.
But when I've tried to make an appointment, there have been no appointments because they've been all taken already, because people have taken them. So, but we could think of something like that.
You gotta get on their alert
A
system.
long weekend, anyway, but I think Jim's idea of asking staff to
Yeah.
yes, think about this and put together a good plan is a good one. I hate to see it entirely vanish. And maybe the central location is correct.
I think it's entirely possible that you could have a central location that is staffed competently, and still save money over.
Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
$20,000
I mean, who's,
time and materials.
Chris will-
Well, I think if you just go with how much it went over last, it went over $6,000 last time. I mean, if it does that, that's $26,000. I mean,
You don't want that.
no.
so do we make a motion to?
You don't need a motion,
Okay,
it's
just,
discussion.
just-
item.
Yeah, let's just
Gotcha.
discuss,
let's just have the staff.
We'll have
Come back.
as an action item with a recommendation or alternative recommendations at our next meeting.
Okay.
Chris, Mr. President,
Yes.
I just to point out, one of the reasons that Jim and I thought it shouldn't be voted on tonight was because it was a late addition to the agenda. And not everybody was ready to talk about it, and the public wasn't really well.
Yeah,
We just put
absolutely.
it on yesterday, so I don't think we should vote on it.
Yeah, did just come up yesterday at finance, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, new business, a motion to approve renewal of golf course management agreements. Obviously, as an employee of the Northport Golf Course Inc., I will be recusing myself from the vote and any discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of the golf course management agreement as outlined in the document in the Dropbox.
Second,
Moved by Will, supported by Susan to approve the contract as presented. Discussion.
Yeah, could we have a little discussion about the liquor license request? What's behind it? What does the company think?
I can address that. First of all, you have to recall that there are actually three contracts that form the basis of this. There's the golf course maintenance contract, there's a contract regarding the solar panels, and then there's also a contract regarding the driving range. And what we've tried to do is incorporate all those together. The basic idea is been successful for 10 years. We want to give them another 10 years with not 2 5-year renewable terms, but 1 10-year term, because that gives them the opportunity to plan and to develop, alternative revenue sources. And that's really the purpose of the liquor license. The initial reason that's directly addressed, because they wouldn't necessarily need our permission to do that. The original contract said they could not have alcohol. So what we're doing is we're not saying you can have a liquor license or we want you to have a liquor license or anything like that. What we are saying is we are rescinding that provision of the contract, giving them the opportunity to pursue that if they choose. And if they do, that they'll be able to plow back that income into the capital improvements, which are going to be necessary. They've been operating for 10 years. They're going to be necessary and allow them to do things that they're not doing right now, but that will not impact the revenue that the village gets, because what we're getting now in terms of the golf operations will continue to get. And we hope that if they get that, they have those opportunities for those other income streams, that will also enhance the amount of golf that's played there as well, increasing the revenue that we get. It gives them the opportunity to find revenue streams they don't have right now to do capital improvement, which they haven't really been able to do.
And what is it that we get?
What's that?
What revenue do we get?
It's set out in the contract, but it's like
5%.
5% of basically the gross revenue of the golf operations. So,
Which was last year,
Equivalent 12,000.
20,000?
Well,
19,000.
19, okay.
19 in the report, yes, you're right.
I'd like to point out, before people get, too exercised over this, that right now it is completely legal for people to bring a cooler of beer with them in their car, put it on their golf cart and drink on the course. That's always been the way it has been. This isn't going to change anybody's behavior except for where they might buy their beer. They might buy their beer from the golf course, which benefits us instead of, Myers. Or, so I don't wanna say that we're gonna take away from Deeps, but, it isn't just it will not change, how it is up there. I mean, it's not gonna be a drug fest like I'm sure some people are concerned about. It's also a really nice place the building was designed to be more of a country club. It was designed to have a bar, not that they're gonna put one in, but maybe people that finish the round of golf wanna sit on that really nice porch that overlooks the whole thing and hey, we forgot to bring beer, we can get a 6-pack, inside. I think that's a really nice thing to offer to the golfers, and this is one of the few golf courses I know that doesn't have that. So, I mean, we're just being normal by doing this, in my
Are
opinion.
your, cashiers old enough to sell beer?
Well, they would have to be.
If it's,
That's
if it's closed, yeah, you're not serving, they're not doing table service with open alcohol, that's different. So they could sell a
We
6-pack.
don't know.
Well, right now, we don't know if they're doing it at all. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just allowing them to, if they
Right.
want to,
Yeah.
Right,
pursue
yeah, it's up to
that.
the company.
I think that, the Northport Promise holds, a golf outing there and, there have been other fundraisers and allowing, catering that would include beer and wine, I think would be an enhancement to the people who use the golf course for fundraising purposes.
I'm ready to vote.
Yeah,
before you vote, one thing did just occur to me, that the suggested motion was just to approve as presented. I would suggest an amendment that allows me as village manager to sign the contract, because it just occurred to me, we probably shouldn't have the village president.
oh.
Sign this contract.
All right, so I'll amend my motion, to, change the sign, the signature, to, the village manager instead of the village president. If I can get support on that.
Second.
Okay, now we can call it.
Moved by Will, supported by Susan.
There are a couple of inconsistencies in, the, NCGC and
Yeah.
NCG, and that are minor, and don't affect the terms, but we just clean that up.
We'll fix the typos.
Yeah.
That's probably my fault. It always is my fault.
Buck stops here.
Well, actually, I'm not sure, because there was, at the time, there was NCGC was a separate entity, and then there was then it became NGC.
Uh-huh.
So I think I think those are correctly identified now.
But
Okay.
they're
It's just-
identified as one and the same, I think.
They are now.
In
That's
the-
the impression, yeah. Okay.
They are now.
In the recitals, it says that Northport Creek Golf Course is referred to as the golf course, but it's not. It's referred to as NCGC.
No,
Yeah, so number 2. and
Okay,
So I'll just talk for 1 second. NCGC was our original LLC, and we had to switch to a nonprofit corp because the township was taxing us on the property. That's why we had, so we just merged from one to the other.
But anyhow, it doesn't affect the terms.
No, it doesn't. And this, even though I initially prepared a draft of this that was reviewed by the attorney for NGC, and this is his language,
Okay.
his approved language, so. I was okay with it. If I see anything that I think otherwise, make the change, but I don't see that as being necessary.
Just, one question before we, small, do we ever audit them or how do we know what 5% is
We get a, annual financial report,
from them? Okay.
and they have auditors, so.
So moved by Will, supported by Susan to approve the golf course management contract with said amendments to be made. Roll call?
Yes.
Roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
motion passes. Next up, we have the motion to approve the placement of the tribal memorial sculpture.
Did we do this?
The placement wasn't set.
Yeah, the placement.
We,
Right.
yeah, we gave approval for them to install it, and now we have the 3 locations, north side of the creek. And then there's 2 locations, south side of the creek. From the reading, it looked like option B was the best.
Well, I think it's the one that's preferred by the tribe. In talking with Chris and frankly, talking with the tribal representative, it's what I suggested is we go out there and actually look at it. It's one thing to see it on an overhead, two-dimensional overhead. It's another thing to actually look at it on the ground. What are the conditions on the ground? And to have the motion authorize, a selection of somewhere in that area, with the final location to be approved by me with consultation with DPW.
Go ahead.
The map looked like it was right near what I call Mark Craker's bench, but is that right? B is located next to the bench.
It's much farther east. It's almost between the sidewalk and the bathrooms there. There's a tree and there.
But isn't that little red dot right next to the bench?
That's just a picnic table. The bench he sits
Oh,
on
the
is right
bench
next
is
to the
further,
bathroom.
closer. You're right. I get it.
Yeah,
I like that location.
yeah, it stands out there. You know,
Yeah.
if it was in section C, there's 2 blue flags down there right now. I don't think if that's what it's for, but if you walk down there by Jane and Diane's, if it was right there, it might get lost in all the stuff they've got going on. I think on the other side, and it's 7'4". I mean, it's gonna stand out.
I think A's too close to the launch ramp, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Excuse me, Chris,
Yes, sir.
I just want to chime in real quick on that. The 2 blue flags, I think where we decided to put the Great Lakes Fisheries
Okay.
signed plaque to go back in.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's what that indicated, and I thought that the GTB monument would be somewhere along that line, but again, as Jim stated, we probably need to really physically go look at it and look at the big picture.
Hugh, it's actually the dot, not where the A is, so it'd be on the other side of the sidewalk from the boat ramp, so, and that's also, there's a light pole that would protect it, so I don't think, I'm more worried about them hitting the light pole that's right there, they've already had to put in a cement protector for that, because it has been hit. I like that location, there's also, they own their own land, up on the corner of Rose.
Yeah, there is.
And right by the parking lot, they have that triangle. I don't know why they don't want to use that.
They might not even be, they might not even be aware of it. I mean, the tribe, the people that are doing the monument might not even be aware of that.
Maybe we should let them know, because it gets a lot of drive by there, and we get a lot of attention. That might, the best spot might be their own land.
And realistically, it's right near the visitor center.
Yes, right by the visitor center. It's almost perfect.
Once again, I'm going to chime in, guys, that the tribe spoke with them last year. They are aware of that land. One of the concerns I would have there, Will, would be that if we do get the green light to do the Rose Street culvert, it just might be in the way of that. So it's something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Move it temporarily, but. Okay, we can, yeah, we're not gonna vote on this tonight, that's fine.
Yeah, just wait, look, got something to say.
Yes, I move that the Village of Northport authorize placement of an Anishinaabe History Project monument in the area of the Northport Marina to be decided by the village manager in consultation with the DPW and tribe.
Second.
Okay, moved by Jane, supported by Barb to Yeah, where did it just go?
Cite the money.
Yeah, cite the monument. Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that I just wanted to say when we were looking at this is one, and as someone who has been a vendor in that area of land, right now the creek is obviously not really high because our water isn't super high. But when the water is super high, that will be really saturated in that area. And that just, to me, I don't wanna, I know they have some risers on it to try and protect from erosion, but I would be concerned when the water does come up a lot, that that's gonna be a really wet area.
Which
And it
one?
has been both, particularly, I think it's, sorry, Mike, it's C. Because when you're even by the edge of the parking lot, I know we've done the renovations, but it's still that area because the creek's right there. I mean, it comes real high and that saturates that whole ground. My other concern is just the timing. If they were to put it in the B location, which it sounded like is what they prefer, music in the park, or not music in the park, cars in the park, because they want to do it in May, which is at that same. I just don't want them, because they say, because of weather and all of these things, they may not be able to go in the window that they're anticipating, which of course, that's how construction works. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to be sure that it's not a conflict for that event.
Certainly, we'll
I don't think B is in the way of Carson Park.
Make
Oh,
sure that
that's
doesn't-
something.
I think you might have to go walk this, Laura, because I literally walk that sidewalk every day in the summer.
Okay.
It's not.
They
it's
had
not-
some food vendors there last year. I think there was
Yeah.
a couple hot dogs things, but I think point valid, if there's mobilization, if they have stuff going on, just so that it's coordinated. And it did say like May through June in a two-step process, I think, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, starting with Susan,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and yes, motion passes. Okay, brings us to item C, motion to approve rain garden expansion contract.
I move approval of the Village of Northport Main Street Stormwater Reduction Project Contract Addendum Number 1 as presented.
Second.
All right, moved by Susan, supported by Will, to approve the Village of Northport Main Street Stormwater Reduction Project Contract Amendment number 1 as presented. Any discussion? Seemed pretty straightforward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, cool. And the Dietrich Land Division.
That one required a little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
If you have questions on what's in the report, be happy to answer them, but this is a parcel that abuts on Third Street. It is very oddly zoned. If you look at our zoning map, depending on which version you look at it, it actually has 3 zoning classifications. It's classified 2 residential, and then there's the conservation area that really would prohibit any development at all, despite the fact that it has an existing single-family residence and a barn on it. This proposal actually gives effect to that zoning, if you will, by defining the area that is wetland and restricting development or location of structures to the area that is upland as defined by the wetland delineation. The complication is really our ordinances. We have 2 ordinances that directly address this issue. And they're inconsistent with each other. One of them says their land divisions are approved by the village council. The other more recent ordinance, which does not have a repealer of the earlier ordinances. In fact, it expressly says this ordinance does not repeal anything that is currently in place. I don't think that was intended. Maybe it's possible that the drafter was not aware of the earlier ordinance, but regardless, that gives the final approval of land divisions to a committee that consists of the zoning administrator, the president of the village, and the chair of the planning commission. So what I'm suggesting, because we have that inconsistency, is that you approve. Well, let me step back from it and say that I've pretty carefully looked at this, and this meets all the qualifications of ordinance 131-2120, or 2021. It would be an appropriate land use division. But again, if we follow that ordinance, you don't have the authority to approve that. So what I'm suggesting is that a motion that as essentially approves the land division under the older ordinance, and then to refer the matter to the land division committee as required by ordinance 131-2021 for final determination.
Can I just say, I'll make such motion?
You can.
Yes, so I will make that, but this seems really obvious to me.
Second.
Moved by Will, supported by Susan. Discussion.
I do have a couple questions though. So our zoning typically you have to have a primary residence to have an accessory building. And this will create a parcel that just has an accessory building. Does the barn have power? And if it does, is the power coming from the house?
What I've told the owner, first of all, she does not have a purchaser. It's on the market right now, but I've told the owner that if this is sold separately, that we will have to have some form of agreement that a principal residence is placed on parcel B within a certain amount of time.
With the barn, parcel B is the barn.
My guess is, frankly, if somebody buys that separately, they may demo the barn and that's that. It won't matter. But we'll have to have that within a certain reasonable period of time by contract to address that very issue.
So we can enforce that, like we'll be able to hold them to it, just because there are people who have been prevented from being able to put on just accessory dwellings.
Well,
For
remember-
not accessory dwellings, accessory
Our
structures.
current ordinance, which you very, very appropriately pointed out to me with John Wimmer's development, permits if a property that is adjacent to has common ownership, that doesn't create a problem.
Yep.
So until the sale occurs, this complies with the zoning, because one of the requirements of the land division is that it complies with zoning. So you wouldn't, if there was currently a plan if there was an existing sale contingent on this, you might say, look, it doesn't comply with zoning, so you're gonna have to figure that out before.
Well, and that's just my question. It's not that I necessarily have a problem with it, but if they do have power in the barn and the power's coming from the house, I mean, that could create issues
All
for
that had- all
everything.
that would have
And
to
as
be
a buyer, I don't think you would necessarily understand that or even ask. I mean,
Well,
it's a weird thing, but anyway, so I just wanted to be sure if you have it where they would have to add a primary residence within
Yeah.
a time frame that covers
Like-
it. It's just
like I
as long
said,
as it's enforceable.
I've informed personally informed the owner and the real estate broker that would have to occur. So I'm confident that we would have in place an appropriate mechanism to enforce that zoning ordinance and as well, the sewer and water and electrical connection issues, if that were to occur. It's a property that's been on the market for in excess of 6 months, and they have not been able to sell, I think largely because it's a house that's on a parcel that's way, way too big for its.
Well, and it's got wetland and it's wooded where you would want to build. I mean, it's gonna take a lot of clearing, but I mean, that doesn't seem to stop people in other locations.
It doesn't, but again, I think it's
correct.
very salutary that
That's what I'm saying,
the owner's gone to the expense of a wetland delineation, which I reviewed very carefully in considering this, so. That's something that I told her several months ago that would probably need to be done, and she went ahead and did it. I think that we shouldn't penalize somebody that's trying to use their property appropriately and is taking all the appropriate steps to do so.
Yeah, I think as long as we have some protections in place and you are making sure that that's enforceable, I think that covers us. It's just, I didn't want to create a parcel that's non-conforming.
Yeah,
without that.
I think that's a great
So-
point. I mean, it's not non-conforming yet until it sells, right? That's the way I'm
And
understanding
it
it.
would have to be separate too,
But-
like
but-
with a separate owner.
Those people
Yeah.
need to understand that when it does sell, if it does.
But it's also potential that the person that buys, could buy both parcels.
Yep.
That's entirely within the
Okay.
realm of possibility.
All right, any other discussion? It was moved by Will, supported by Susan to,
Do with them.
the village council approved proposed land division for parcel, 422340 under village ordinance 6B as presented. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Now, it wasn't on the agenda, and I thought I had revised the agenda to put it on, what would have been item 10E, if you would, consider adding that to the agenda. It is simply an agreement with, JFK Land Surveying, that's Mr. Four, that allows him to release to us the, basically his electronic files, so we can use them ourselves. It's, the surveying that he did for both 7th Street and for, 2nd Street property out here.
And there's no cost for us
No.
to
No,
do that now?
basically, he's.
It's a release of liability.
Yeah, it's a release of
It's,
liability.
which
He
there
gives
isn't
it to
really,
us.
but
He gives it to us. We use it for what we see fit.
Well, first, let's make the motion. I move approval of the surveyor's release of documents to the village of Northport as presented. Support.
well, wait, we have to.
No, we have,
Agree to put it on the agenda first.
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
right, sorry.
I will move that we put this item on the agenda as item 10E.
Second,
moved by Will, supported by Hugh to put item 10E on the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
I move approval of the surveyor's release of documents to the village of Northport as presented. And I'll
I second that.
Okay, so my recollection was that, when we finished up with John Core, he asked us for more money, part of which was to give us his results, and my recollection is that we rejected that. So did he initiate this?
He did. He did.
I think he's giving us his results without charging us.
No, they're ours under the contract, his employment contract. He didn't want to honor that, and this was part of the reason why, was the liability. He was worried somebody else would misuse them, so
Right.
this clears all that up.
Right,
Yeah, but he's not all of a sudden turning generous to Village Northport, trust me.
Yeah.
That's not his intention here, but I don't want to give him too much credit, but yeah, we should definitely approve this.
okay, I agree.
Any further discussion? Okay, moved by Susan, supported by Will to approve the surveyor's release of documents to the village of Northport as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes. Now we can move to the payment of the bills.
Debt retirement payment.
Yeah,
I move we paid the bills in the amount of $663,705.34 when funds become available.
second,
moved by Jean, supported by Hugh to pay the bills in the amount of $663,705.34. Any discussion? Roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Hugh,
yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
and yes. Bills are paid. That brings us to our second public comment. Once again, if you want to unmute yourself or raise your hand, I will recognize you. 5 minutes for public comment. I see Ann has unmuted and raised her hand. Go ahead, Ann.
Thanks very much. I appreciated your discussion about the trash pickup. I would just like to remind the council that what we count on government to do is things that individuals can't do one-on-one for themselves, such as provide water and sewer and save roads and safe sidewalks. And perhaps public bathrooms, but I think people's individual trash is something that we don't need to do. It's not an expense that the taxpayers really should bear. People accumulate stuff. Some accumulate more, some accumulate less, et cetera, et cetera. It's really their responsibility. And there's quite a market in our capitalist society and our nonprofit organizations to take care of people's trash. And I strongly urge you, despite the historic, we've always done it, mentality in the village, I would urge you to use that $20,000 for some other things. My personal preference would be that it go into sidewalks, some of which are in deplorable, unsafe condition, some of which don't even exist. And for the safety of our residents, from children going to school to seniors like me, I think that would be an excellent use of funds. I'm always in favor of public bathrooms. Those are also useful items, but I don't think we need to pick up individual people's trash. In this day and age, we need to show some environmental leadership and urge people to take responsibility for the stuff they generate. Thanks very much, and I appreciate and hope that you will continue to work on your dark sky issues. I know some members of this council have been elected or appointed since the council's original commitment to dark skies, but I find it kind of sad that we continue to have way too many streetlights on, more than are necessary for safety. I hope you'll continue to work on that issue as we move forward. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ann. Anyone else? All right, since there's no public in person, that brings us to our council comments.
You're too late.
Oh, go ahead, Fred. Fire away.
I was just gonna make a comment about the dark sky. This is a very small village with limited streetlights that we have. I agree with the dark sky push, but I think it's for major cities that are all illuminated all the time, not for a small village like Northport that is so small, so few streetlights. People walk up and down our street and there's a ditch on the side. So I sure think that there'd be a liability because we have dark sky and not have a light. And if someone were to fall in that ditch, I believe that dark sky should be for larger cities with a lot of lights, not for a village like ours.
Thanks, Pam. Okay.
I got
No other public comments? Council comment?
Real briefly, I've been, started talking about this, I don't think inappropriately before the meeting, but I have asked Laura to mock up a banner celebrating our 175 years that we could put under the Northport sign. I think Jim said that there was money budgeted for that in the promotion. We have a promotions fund. So I think that'd be really cool. I'm trying to make I don't know, for some reason, I think this 175 is kind of a cool thing, and
It's awesome.
I'm trying to push it. And I think that's something we can do. And then the only other thing is let everybody know University of Michigan is playing Frozen 4 tonight in 10 minutes. So go blue.
Let's go.
It may be too late for the Red Wings. I don't even have the score yet, but go blue tonight.
I just wanted to share that this coming up is our second annual restaurant week for Northport and Omena, and that's April 27th to May 5th. And we have a lot of participating businesses. So we're really excited about that. Everybody's going to have price fixed menus for the event, including bars. So you can get your donuts.
Anyone else?
So, this Saturday is Adopt a Highway, road cleanup. And if anyone has time, on Saturday morning at 9, meet in the parking lot at Covenant Church. And there will be safety vests and, bags supplied, wear gloves and comfortable walking shoes. It's a mile up and down each side of 22. Lots of people, it'll be less than an hour.
Great.
My youngest wants to come, so I'm gonna be there.
Go ahead.
Just one, and well, our.
Oh,
I wanna
thanks.
talk
I just want to support this idea, the 175th. And hopefully, I know Bill is out of town right now, but the marina, the sailing school, it should maybe be a thing.
Yeah, I've been working with businesses to try and see about coordinating
Yeah.
with restaurants and stuff to do something and maybe having some events, throughout the season, so, yeah.
I'm just I'll make a comment, I'll let you go, Jim. I just want to address the public bathroom situation. I mean, there was a comment that the Leland bathroom situation is great, and the enterprise that I just read, the bathroom situation is not great there.
No.
And so I think, forcing our people in the public, that are in our business district down to the marina, that's just a lot to ask, especially when we have young families with kids who may need an emergency situation when they're not in a business. And so I think supporting some public restrooms here in our business district, is something that we should look at doing. So, Susan?
Linked to that, a couple of years ago, I called the manager, or whoever he is in Glen Arbor, because Glen Arbor has the best public bathrooms in America. And he told me the truth about those bathrooms and that people know about those bathrooms. And he said, we have a flood of people coming and using our bathrooms. We have to clean them out 4 times a day.
Oh.
He said it's a bigger deal, because I asked him how they collected the money for it, and I don't know, they got grants and blah, blah. Building it wasn't nearly as expensive as tending it, which I thought was fascinating, but I would like to see something better than a porta potty downtown.
Yeah.
But again, we've got to think through the full expense of that. And
You're talking about the difference between 10,000 and 100,000, if you want something more than 4 or 5.
yeah.
Speak from experience as mayor of the village of Marshall, or the city of Marshall.
So-
You may take a drink.
Did it yesterday in finance too, early in the morning.
I know, it's terrible.
Jim, did you want to make a manager comment?
Just wanted to let everyone know that we have a vacancy on village staff. Unfortunately, our administrative assistant had some family issues and decided that she needed to depart our employment. Very sad to see that happen, but we do have a part-time position open for an administrative assistant that has clerical, potentially social media experience, that kind of thing. And just send me, call me or send me an email or whatever, if you know anybody that's interested.
Are we advertising the enterprise?
We haven't yet, but we
But we
will.
will.
Yeah, okay, we never know.
Well, that's too bad. That's too bad.
And Beth was a very good addition to the staff.
I'll move to adjourn. In time for puck drop.
Support?
We're behind 3-2.
We gotta win, right? Because we're the second wild card.
10 minutes in the second.